Hello, hello. A very good evening to you. Good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. Great to have you all here. We are going to be flying the Fenix A320 from here in Hyderabad up to New Delhi. So we're going for a route from sort of central India, I suppose, up to northwest India, I guess. It's a part of the world I'm not familiar with at all, so excuse my ignorance on it. But that's why we're flying around in Flight Simulator. It's part of my mission to make sure we do actually travel to more parts of the world and enjoy the sim for all its glory around the planet. We are going to be doing more of these routes in different countries around the world. And also, of course, every time we do this, we learn so much about where we are from viewers and so on. So it's always great. And also, this is one of my favourite liveries, which we'll talk about on the way. I'm sure a lot of you can tell why, but... Oh, apologies for that. That made me jump. Someone must have spawned in next to us. But yeah, it's something I've been looking forward to. So I hoped to do the stream a while ago, actually, but it's just... Let me move the drone. It's taken a while to get into a position where I could get the stream done. So sorry it's been so long. It's been a bit of a quiet time. I've not managed to get the streams in that I had hoped, or the content that I'd hoped over the last few weeks. Things happen in life, and sometimes that... I was an F-22. No wonder it's so noisy. Let me just turn that down. I hope you can still hear me. I'm just going to turn desktop audio right down in case that's too loud for you guys. But yeah. Things do happen, and this is British Airways over there. Yeah, unfortunately, not able to get the streams in as I'd hoped. But that's hopefully done now, and we'll get it back to a bit more regular streaming, which is what I would like to be doing. So let's jump into the chat and say hello to everyone. Oh, I also need to get the Fly Live running, of course. There's always that's something missing. Jumping into chat. Great to see you over on... We'll start with YouTube. It's great to see you all here. Thank you for coming along. James Atkinson, I hope you're doing well. I hope work was a good day for you. Srihari, I hope you're doing well. Aaron, Hayden, good to see you. Hayden says you're close to 70,000 subs. Just saying, yes, we're getting surprisingly close. Yeah, over 69,000 subscribers now. So yeah, unbelievable. Thank you all so much. Chick Point, good to see you. I hope your workday went well as well. Eric, Mark, Aaron, flying as I first says hello from Bangladesh. Hello to you. Another South Asia country, but still a long way apart from Hyderabad. It's great to see you, Hayden. Thank you so much, Hayden, for the £3.20 donation. Really appreciate it. Hayden says, see what you did there, nearly 70,000 subs. Indeed, yeah, utterly mad. I that's just a crazy number. So it's... Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all your support and donations and for being part of the community, Hayden. And thank you to everyone watching as well. If you are watching, do please subscribe. It just makes a big difference to the channel. Yeah, thank you so much for that kind donation. Really appreciate it. By the way, beautiful sunrise. There we go. So we can enjoy that a little bit. This is where Mike's... Look at that haze, sun rising. Perfect. It is indeed ahead of us in India. So it's not quite actually sunrise yet there. It's still dark, but I've just accelerated time slightly for a bit of a dawn flight. So there we go. This is Maggie. I hope you're doing well. Great to see you. Igloo Foo, good afternoon to you. And Andy Byron, I hope you're doing well. Andy says, not been able to catch a live one of these for ages. Don't worry, there hasn't been one for a few weeks, actually. So it's been a bit of a quiet time. Michael John, good day to you as well. It is indeed a late stream. Yeah, we're running slightly late today, just because that's when I could fit it in, which is great. I quite enjoy these evening streams as well, as long as you're all happy with that, then it works for me every now and then. DP, good to see you. Nick K, great to have you here as well. Josh, Hayden, we've already said as well, but thank you very much, Hayden. Really appreciate it. That's people. I probably had to stop off a few times along the way. Over on Twitch, good to see you. Lauren V, thanks for coming along and moderating. As Lauren says, yeah, very early in the morning in India. Sun are probably rising soon, and yes, it is. We are running late today. Tom Corwin, hello to you. Great to see you. Dhananjay Suresh says, hello everyone. This is exciting. I grew up in Hyderabad for a few years before my family came to America. Fantastic. There you go. Hyderabad. I have the Wikipedia page here. So Hyderabad Airport is Rajiv Gandhi International Airport. There you go. And it serves Hyderabad, the capital of Indian state of Telangana. It is located in Shabad, about 24 kilometers south of Hyderabad. There you go. It opened in 2008. So quite a new airport, really. And as everyone, it suffered heavily in COVID with the loss of passengers. But it does have direct routes into Europe. And it's, like I say, it's sort of in Let me find the map properly. Oh, in fact, I'll show you on here, can't I? If I go rid of this, we are here. So this is our route. Here's India. We have done the Maldives around here, and there's Sri Lanka, and then we are flying from sort of southern middle to sort of, I say northwest, probably just northern India. So yeah, it's one country, but the flight time, it's like a domestic flight. We're gonna have a flight time of around, where's my flight time gone? 1 hour 47. So yeah, it's a long flight, and it doesn't even cover even close to the length of the country. 1 hour 47, and we're just doing this bit. So I imagine if you're doing a full north to south, you could be looking at a good over maybe 2.5 hours. So there we go. Fenix Simulation A320, the latest version, just the public release version, is what we're running today. That's what we'll be using. So that should be all very nice and suitable. Degon, hello to you. Jimbo, hope you're doing well. Samboss, credit us a chance to watch live. 8 a.m. local time, down in now Australia. Yes, Australia. Good, I got that right. Make sure you get Australia and New Zealand the right way around. So there we go. And Lauren V says, during the British period, the Hyderabad state was one of the most powerful and respected local princely regimes. There you go, Lauren. Always very knowledgeable on these things. So there we go. Right, this livery included with Fenix. I think it's a really great livery. I love seeing it in real life as well. It's a quite straightforward one, but they've gone to the effort. They painted the red underneath, and then you've got every window with this little pattern, which is just great. Love that. What a nice detail. It used to look particularly good on the 747-400, which sadly, of course, we don't see these days. But that was a really nice use of this livery. Also, a fun little part of it is that it swaps around its languages. So let me get this right. Yeah, so we've got Air India written in Hindi at the front here, and then English on the tail. But then if you go to the other side, they have the reverse, which I think is a nice little detail. Quite fun way to get around that. Not get around, but to have both displayed. So there you go, Air India on the front, and then in English, and then in Hindi, Air India written on the tail. So that's quite nice. And then also, it sort of has a cheat line underneath the windows, but still, that's my sort of thing. Great. It's cold and dark, so let's get it set up and get underway. Let's see if we can get out on a reasonable time. If you would like to fly along, hopefully the Cloudbot has come to life by now. You can put exclamation mark route into the chat. I haven't seen the Cloudbot yet, so we shall see. Anthony, hello to you. Hope you're doing well. James says, gutted I've come in F22. Same A320 livery issue. Ah, that's annoying. Yeah. Why would that have happened? Have I not started up? Maybe I haven't started up my fly-by-wire. Do I need to have that running? I think it was running though. Thanks, RV. Sorry, I'm just checking why isn't it doing the right traffic? If it's installed, it should just be installed. Yeah. So I don't know. Sorry about that. Fly by 007, good morning to you. Also in Australia, just past 8 a.m. Excellent. So it's nice. Oh, so we can, these EV streams get a slightly different capture of the global market. Right. What was I doing? If you're new here, I do apologise. I'm not normally struggling like this to get started. Actually, that's total nonsense. I'm always like this. We have a bit of a chat. I start up all the programs that I should have started before the stream, and then in about 45 minutes we start up the engines. So let's see if we can do a bit better today. We're going to be the Air India 320. We've reached 320. I always just do sequential numbers. So our last one was 319. We are at the Air India 320. There we go. So that should start up the overlay for you. Good. I will just merge the chat. I'm way behind on the chat, so I do apologise. Peter DR, good to see you. Josh Fulford says, applied for the TUI cadet program today. Thanks for the stream. Always very informative. Excellent. You could be an airline pilot in the same time the channel's been running at this rate. I'm sure we have people who have done that. So, yeah, fantastic. Good luck to you. Aaron is over on Twitch now. Hello to you. Excellent. Paddy, great to see you, Paddy. I hope you're doing very well. Great to have you here today. And EU as well has seen the Air India 747-400 in real life. Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. Okay, I think I'm all caught up. Oh, relatively. Apologies if I missed your message. Flight Simulation says, hello, glad to see you back. Currently watching with a 39.5-degree fever, but the stream is exactly what I needed to chill down. Have a good one. Yeah, do please enjoy, relax, and that's awful. I hope you feel better soon. Yeah, we'll. Well, I can't bask you in images of cold sort of Canada as we have been doing. It's we'll find out what the temperature is here. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoy it. We'll have a nice air-conditioned Airbus flight deck for you anyway. The real Air India flight 320 is a Delhi to Newark. Oh, I didn't know that. There you go. I shouldn't do that then. I shouldn't use real numbers. Right, on the flight deck. By the way, default airports. Oh, that's because we were doing group flying last time. Oh well, that's what we've got. Right, let's go into our Phoenix. We're going to import from SimBrief. Yeah, let's adjust that. Is that for tomorrow then? Let's put it at 45. No, that's even worse. Well, we're going to be early today, significantly. Here's the weather where we're departing from. Light winds, so we can go whatever runway we fancy. 6 kilometers, 20 degrees. So it's already 20 degrees. Wow. Yeah, lovely and warm. QNH of 1015. So that's all good. Let's leave that for now. Let's get the airplane powered up. Masters off. Weather radar off. Landing gear lever down. Wiper selectors off. Batteries check. Voltage is good. Into auto. External power available. On. Let me get the sounds turned up for you all. Let me know how the sounds are, of course, please, because I have adjusted them today. I'm going to let that all power up, then we'll get the APU going, because at 20 degrees it's going to start warming up with the sun on the airplane. I want to have the cabin getting cooled down. I'm just going to press FMGC on there. I haven't upgraded my database actually, so that's just going to be a little bit out of date. Yeah, default airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator continue to be not even a mixed bag. This is just, yeah, not great. It's a bit of a shame. This is not that impressive. It's, again, I do think that having that community access that we see in X-Plane is a really good way of doing it, just letting people solve it for their... Hello. First officer is joining us today. First officer is upset because she's no longer allowed in the lounge, which is the warmest room, and the reason is we have a Christmas tree up, and it's just a fake Christmas tree, a plastic one, and she can't resist eating it. She cannot stop herself, and you can tell her a million times over and take her off it, and it doesn't matter. She'll always go back to it, and then you'll find her covered in. It's got fake snow on it, so she just comes out looking like she's been enjoying the snow, and yeah, it's no good. We have to lock her out, so now she's upset. So you might hear her complaining several times. Flyby says, to be fair, that departure time might not be too far off given your past records. Yeah, it's possible. It is possible. Sim's a bit quiet. Let's turn up a bit more. Let me know how that goes. Right. Good evening, Wild Rumble. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you here. Thanks for coming along. There is an airport gateway similar to X-Plane's coming soon. There we go. That's what we need. That's what we need. Right. Let's get AP fire test. Good. And I'm going to just get that up and running. 1, 2, 3. On. Then we're going to come down here. I'm going to check we've got oil. We do. Hydraulic fluids. We do. And oxygen. We do. That's unusual actually to see such a difference in oil. That would actually make me sort of question it, because the airplane will be serviced at, both engines will be serviced at the same time, so it's likely they'd be topped up to the same level. So if I saw a difference like that, I'd be questioning that. They're not like you can do if they're within limits. They're within limits, but I'd definitely take an extra check to make sure nothing's dripping outside from the engine. Just Eddie says, we usually have a real tree and decided to get a fake pyramid-like tree this year, locally this year, and the cats have taken to sprinting right through it. Yes, of course. Stone says, my first time catching a live stream, but I've watched hundreds of your videos. You taught me how to sim. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us today. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the stream. Slightly more relaxed feel perhaps than the videos, or you could say less organised if there's an alternative to relaxed. James says where's that message gone? James said James managed to get 5 hours on the PPL since last for long. Excellent, well done, especially at this time of year. That's very good. I won't use a face cam, Patrick. Yeah, not really in a position to show my face on the stream. So might consider a joystick camera. I have one. I just have not set it up. I haven't found a secure way to set it up, so I need to get on with that. Eurotexan has tipped very kindly $5. Thank you. Eurotexan says thanks for all the great content. Much appreciated as always. Eurotexan, that's really, really appreciated. Thank you for the $5 tip. Really kind. Thanks for supporting the channel. I hope you're doing very well. I hope you enjoy the stream today, and you're very, very welcome. Hopefully we'll see you in plenty more streams, videos to come. But yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Right, I shouldn't have done that, pressing the B button. There we go. Right, so that is all good. We've got the parking brake handle on. We've done the accumulated brake pressure. Flaps are at 0. Speed brake track disarmed. Good. Let's go into our flow. So crew supply goes on. Ground control on the recorder. Nav. Should have done that earlier now. That's actually as part of the preliminary prep these days. Arm the lights. Auto. We haven't fueled yet, so that seatbelt signs off. Nav lights to 1. Strobe lights to auto. All the other lights off. Anti-ice won't be needed on this flight, I can predict. Cabin pressure in auto. Air conditioning is all set, but we'll leave the APU bleed until it's warmed up a bit more. Electrics are all on, and we can do our battery check, which I found out thanks to viewers here why we do this. We want to start it on a charging cycle and check that the limiter does kick in. So off and on. Starts charging. You actually need it to drop below 40 amps quicker than, or fairly quickly. I've never seen it sit at 60 amps, so that's interesting. Let's see what happens if we start at number 2. Glunk. Yeah, so that's a sign that they need a charging cycle, but they don't tend to do that. They don't tend to charge that aggressively for that long. But there we go, starting to come down. Anyway, we would say they're okay if they were actually below 40. Get the fuel pumps on. Engine fire tests. We would, of course, check down on the fire lights. Make sure everything's okay. Sparky Marky says, I love the reaction feel of the live streams. Excellent. Glad you enjoy it. Glad it works. Great. We're not going to fiddle with these. Maybe not put full cold in the cargo, but assuming we're not carrying any live animals today, it probably won't matter. Right, we've got the anti-skid notice steering on. We'll set this to the QNH in a moment. And moving down, TPWC is off. We'll load up the FMGCs in a second. Switching panel is in norm. Weather radar is definitely off. And the transponder is going to be in standby. Great, 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 great. Okay, let us now go to mass balance. 9.3 tons of fuel. Let's load the aircraft. Instance. So that's all loaded. Goods. What's that noise? Oh, we get a jetty now. Well, where's that going to go? It's a great model. That's the GSX model. Flyby says, quite pleasant in Hyderabad. 21 degrees. Bound for 30. Yeah, that's quite nice. Over 30 is getting a bit hot, but up to 30 we can handle. Oh. Well, yeah, they might have to make a bit of a jump and sort of cling on to the windscreen, like in that film Bullet Train. But if they manage to find their way over the windscreen, they can get into the airplane. These says, I haven't played the sim in a few months. Has the Phoenix had any big updates? It's had a couple of updates. I don't know if they were big or not, but yeah, I've been missing out as well, frankly. I'm not up to date as it stands. Lauren V says, I find that parking spots in India are misplaced. I always get the jetway on the right there. Yeah, okay. It's not just me then. Good, so let's load up the FMGC. First of all, let's... we'll get the weather from the left, I suppose. So I'll say that that's good enough for the weather. Let's just go to the init and load it in. I hope this works. Did work, yes. Even though I didn't do the initialization, which is actually, that's accurate. That's what it would do. We will also initialize the flight. Imagine ruined. Yeah, is it? Yeah. Well, oh, there it is. Oh, oh. That's a strange glitch. How funny. I won't do that anymore. Good. There's the routes. There it is. We're going to be Air India 320. So we've done data. We're now on init A. Cost X was only 10. Cruising at 360. Don't need the uplink, thank you. Alternate VIUT. We don't need to do the init, it should align it on the GPS. Yeah, there you go, aligning on GPS, so that's all good. And we have the route already, so I will load in the wind request. Great stuff. Do I have any intention to look at the A330 headwind? Has it been updated significantly? Yeah, is it good? I would like to look at it, yeah. We can compare it, I suppose, to the X-Plane one, which is our only other experience of the 330 on this channel. Right, flight plan time. So we don't have... Let me just check. Don't think there's any air traffic control here. I'd be very surprised. No air traffic control. So, let's work out our routes. Let's put the puzzle together. Thank you again, Eurotexan and Hayden, for those kind donations. Really appreciate it. Right, let's have a look. We have got a departure from 09 right by Debir. Yeah, nice. That'd be quite nice. 09 left or right looks. Oh no, is it just the right? Yep, just right. Debir 7. That's what we'll do then. Out above 3,600 feet left to go for 5 miles. So that's actually a bit of a misleading. It's a big. This is a long departure. Takes you a long way from the airfield. I'm quite surprised. Look at that. That's a 44-mile leg. I can't believe it. Wow. Okay. We'll do that. Out, and that stops at Debir. Oh, no, there we go, Debir. But still, that's still a long old way. So let's put that in. 9 right. Debir 7. I wonder why it's called Debir 7. Then we're going via, let's go to Busboat. So our route is to go by Busboat. So we'll go via Busboat as a transition. So we'll end up here. And then we can check. It takes us all the way along. And then we had a planned arrival of Bavox into Delhi. Delhi, of course, the capital. Runway 28. Now, I have no idea what's sensible or practical. There is an ILS, so that's good. So we can just put in the Bavox 5 Bravo. That's our planned route, and we can decide whether we actually want to do that later. Good, so that's init A and flight plan. Secondary will just be a copy. RadNav is clear. Init B time, we are loaded. Let's get some air conditioning on for the passengers. Signs on, and goodbye to the GPU. Good. Zero fuel weight 57.1, max zero fuel 30.3. In it goes. Block fuel 9.3. I just put 9.2 by the time we actually go, which will be plenty. 28 or 29 left at Delhi, depending on where you want to park. 27 is a weird runway. Okay. Yeah, so 28, that works. Great. Indian SIDs tend to be a bit American in design, then it's just one airway between major cities. I see. So they all just sort of different routes onto the airway. They've updated it to fly by 0.9 stable, huge changes. Okay, I'll have to have a look. Flying Cypher says, been flying the Toliss A320 and X-Plane 11 mostly. How's the Phoenix coming on? Phoenix is just lovely. Yeah, I really like the Phoenix. Is there a way to refill the oil? Oh, I don't know. There's a maintenance, but I don't know. I haven't tried that. I have not tried that. If you are watching along on YouTube, do please leave a like. It makes a big, big difference to the channel. So I'd really appreciate it, if you are enjoying, of course. Stop altitudes, 9 right. Transition altitude of 7,000. They're going to specify a stopping point. Above 46, flight with 23. Not really. So let's start with 5,000 feet. And let's just get the weather. So, it is QNH 1015, 20 degrees. So put those as a constraint, set the QNH 1015. There it is. Good. Right, performance then. Oh, and on the NITB page, loads of extra fuel, even with the alternate, so not a problem there. No surprise. Now we'll go to departure. Mohit says, howdy, how did you? I heard a voice that was very similar to yours on a flight I took recently. Ironically, that was the beginning of a journey that ended in Delhi. Very good. I hope you had a good flight. And I hope you had a good time in Delhi. What a coincidence, yeah. So VHS 9 right, we decided. Dry runway, config optimum. We're not going to force toga. Anti-ice can stay off. Packs on. Quite warm and humid, so it would be nice to have those on. Front cabin door open, that's not ideal. We have decided that we have a 57.1 30. Oh no, we don't actually do that. What am I doing? We can just sync the load sheet. There it goes. Sync the weather. There it goes. Calculates. Oh, so easy. Noah, good evening to you. Hope you're doing well. Scorpion 007, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, a slightly different time today, which is allowing people to join us. Hello. First officer's looking at me, concerned. We'll go no shift, flaps 2, flex 65. No shift, flaps 2, flex 65. First officer has now left. She's bored. 44, 44, 46. .218 clean speed. We've got no speed limits around the turn, so we'll just accelerate to 250. So that's our diff strip done. I can check the speed. No speed constraints, 250 as planned. That's great. So I'm going to leave that on performance. I'll leave that on flight plan. And we need to close that cabin door. So let's close up and connect the tug. Close, connect, please. Good. Not bad, half an hour. What are the conditions required for flaps 2 takeoff? Well, if it's to be honest, the Airbus performance calculator is unlikely to tell you to do flap 2 unless you're on a short runway. Think of like an intersection takeoff from Luton or something, or a tailwind. These are times when flap 2 becomes more likely, but it's notable how well the Airbus handles flap 1. It really works well. Flap 1 is a good compromise between runway length and then climb performance. Why can't I close that cabin door? There we go. Keeps reopening. Get rid of the GPU. Target's connecting. We are on 122.805. There we go. Matteo, good to see you. Matteo, I hope you're doing very well, and I hope you've had a good day. Great to see you here on our evening streams. Right. Igloo Food says, can confirm 320 works for Air India and actually flies a 777. Oh dear. Mohit says, I do have this bug today with Phoenix where my speed tape died. Okay, we'll see if that happens. Right, let's run the checklist. "32 minutes, far too early. We need to sit around and think a bit more." So I'll do that. Alright, before the checklist. Before we do that, have I done everything? Let's quick look around, checking for no white lights, checking thrust levers and things are all in the right place. Good. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. So, force our checklist copy prep is completed. Barrier F1015 is set on both sides. ACARS was initialized. Park brake is set. Fuel on board, we have 9.2, more than enough. Init B is loaded. Flex temp, we are going with 65, so relatively high flex. And for this elevation, I think 65 is actually, it's perfectly fine. It's probably the maximum flex, so nice long runway. And takeoff speeds, I've got 44, 44, 46, all loaded. That's down to the line. Let's go below. Let's tell people what we're doing actually. Just check all my buttons work. Yep. Hyderabad ground, Air India 320, pushing back onto the main taxiway for taxiing runway 9 right. That was not a good call. No one's going to know what that means. Echo. And Air India 320, we're pushing back onto Echo to face west. Didn't say the stands, but I'm pretty sure the only people here with us Amir said not to use icing in the Phoenix due to a bug on their Discord the other day. Says Igloo Foo. Ah, interesting. Oh well, I don't think we'll run into the icing today. Dougal, good to see you. Dougal McTavish says evening 320 in chat, watching while packing to move house. Not fun. Oh, I hope your move goes well, Dougal. But there's no way for it to not be stressful. So all the best luck for that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the stream, and it doesn't distract from the endless work that goes into moving house. Right. Let's say we're cleared. So those are idle. Windows are closed. We look at the little red ring around the window to make sure it's closed. I'm going to put the transponder to auto, and I'm going to put the beacon on. Right below line, passenger side's on auto, beacon on, transponder auto, all doors closed. Let's go. So, brakes released. Start the clock. We are. How early? What does it say earlier? 400 minutes or something. This must be later today. Excellent. Right, let's start up engine number. We'll do 2 engines today. It's not that far. So, motor ignition. Pressure at the start valve. Starting number 2. Start the clock. Flex is just flexible temperature. Why it's called flex, I don't know, but that's what it's called. I'm just going to do a straight pushback here, save me the hassle. I don't think you can steer with the rudder, no. Sorry about that, I'm using my microphone. What's going on here with the ignition? So the engine's stable, that's good. We're saying goodbye to the tug. But when I hold down the right mouse button, my engine mode wants to go, it drives itself back. Don't know why, very strange. Anyway, starting engine number 1. Just won't use the mouse while we're starting. There goes the tug, they would wave goodbye. SRS is speed reference system. I do know that one. Mateo, thanks so much for $12.40 tip. Really appreciate it, Mateo. That's very, very kind. Mateo says, been a while since my last contribution to the channel. Just a little something to wish you a very Merry Christmas and an amazing New Year with all the great add-ons Microsoft Flight Simulator and hopefully X-Plane 12 will bring. Thanks so much, Mateo. Really, really appreciate it. Again, you do more than enough for the channel, but thank you so much for your support. Very, very kind. I hope you're doing very well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. Merry Christmas to you. And yeah, I wonder if, well, hopefully we'll get a group flight in before Christmas. I think it's we have managed to make that a bit of a tradition. But yeah, thank you so much for the support and enthusiasm you've shown towards the community and the channel. It's really appreciated. And thank you for that very kind donation. Right, there we go. Engines running. Gamer Boy is landing over there. Back to norm. APU bleed off. APU off. Arm 0. Flaps 1. $28 on the CG. Surprise, surprise. Exactly where it always is. Good. And after I check this, but yeah, just say again, Mateo, really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. And I'm looking forward to. I know we haven't done X-Plane 12 enough, but I'm going to fly it again soon. I really want to fly X-Plane 12 again and see how it's changed already. And I've got that beautiful, beautiful A330 in that in our house livery. Absolutely love that. After I check this, ground equipment is removed, anti-ice off, flaps config 1% green. We've got APU off, yellow electric pump off, trims 28 and 0, cabin doors armed, ecam status checked. Doors armed, by the way, means look on the door page, you should see white slide. The The oval wing slides on the 320 will stay armed because they're the emergency exits that the doors front and back should arm. Right, that's it. So we can taxi. Hyderabad ground at India 320, taxiing Echo for runway 9 right. Was 9 right we did, wasn't it? Yes. Good. Nose lights on. Clear on the right. Clear on the left. Brakes released. Let's get moving. Oh, it's a bit fast. By the way, down at that angle, you can actually see a big problem. It's not a problem, but it's something you have to be aware of with the 320 that isn't true of all aircraft. When you go full lock on the tiller, this wheel here actually lifts off the ground. I don't know if it comes entirely off, but it certainly raises. So it means that trying to turn a sharp turn, especially in the wet in the 320, you've got to be so slow because you're just basically putting the whole 70 tons onto this one little bit of tyre on the nose wheel. And the nose wheel is tiny. If you do a walk around on a 320, you'll see that it really is not much of an impressive wheel. It's small. So yeah, easy to slide, and you can slide even in the dry if you have the wrong engine running or you try and do too tight to turn too quickly. It's not guaranteed to work or to grip. So we're going to go Echo. A bit of a strange setup. We're going to go. I need to get onto Bravo, Echo Bravo, and then across. Then we might be in a better place. Yeah, so they probably would want us to use Alpha 8 performance. Maybe we can make that happen. Let's see. Changing performance on the fly, or on the departure, is a high workload situation, but something we do get used to. What I'm going to do, just because what you could do is come to a stop and actually sort it out properly. So we're going to do that. So there's the brake set. First of all, Nick, thank you so much. Let me just press that. Nick K has super chatted £25. Really appreciate it, Nick. That's very kind. Nick says, "Hi, had to have some time off from a job that I love recently with mental health problems. Your videos and old live streams kept me occupied. Back at work now. Just a little thanks." Nick, that's so great to hear that you're back at work. Really, really appreciate the very kind donation. And that. Sorry to hear you went through that, but glad to hear you're back at work. That's great, and I'm so glad the channel was have helped you in the meantime. That's just great to hear. It's so nice to hear these things and to hear how people use the videos and so on. So yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you for your support and the very, very kind donation. I hope you're doing very well, and I wish you all the best over Christmas and next year. But really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the very kind donation, Nick. And Scorpion as well has tipped $10. Scorpion, thanks so much. Scorpion says, "You were one of the first channels I discovered when I got back into flight simming after Microsoft Flight Simulator. Learned so much from your tutorials. Thanks for all you do, this amazing community, and hope you had a great holiday season." I really appreciate it, Scorpion. That's very, very kind. Thank you for the $10 tip. And just again, it's so great to hear. I really, really, I don't want to say sometimes. It's it's just lovely. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Scorpion, for that very generous tip. Thank you, Nick, as well, and thank you, of course, Matteo. And everyone else who's tipped today. It's really appreciated, and I love hearing about how the channel is used by people, and it's yeah, that's really nice. Thank you. I'm going to actually try and put in an intersection now. Then how does it work? No, we don't have it. No. Okay, forget that. We'll go full length. If you don't have the performance, and this does happen, you don't have a choice. So we're going to have to go left here and cross the runway. Yeah, thank you for those amazing tips and bits of insight. I really appreciate it. Looks like a backup runway. Yeah, so perhaps 9 left would have been the correct one to use, but we'll pretend 9. Sorry, yeah, we'll pretend 9 left is closed. So crossing a runway, you want to not do checklists or anything while you're on it, but you would certainly put the strobe. Some people put landing lights on. Now that's useful if you're going to go the wrong way down the runway, which I think we will today actually. So we're going to enter here, I think. It says Alpha. I know it's not Alpha. Why has it lost the sim link? There we go. So I'm going to backtrack down the runway. Risky when we are live on the multiplayer servers, but let's put the landing lights on as well. Again, though, it's unlikely anyone would see those because they're under the wing, but still, on some airplanes that would help. Hyderabad control. India 320, backtracking 9 left for a 9 right departure. Thanks for the subscription, 2018 pool. Right, clear on the right, clear on the left. We're going to make a right turn as we backtrack. Often, by the way, taxiing onto a runway, nearly always you're going uphill because runways are done with a sort of curve to make sure the water drains. I don't know if it's, actually I'm not sure if that's the reason because they're grooved, but no, that would work, wouldn't it? Because they're grooved across the length. Yeah, so that would make sense. Aerodynamics says, don't know if it's just me, but performance of this plane is awful. No, I find the Phoenix performance is one of the better ones. No, I've had no trouble with it. Regic says, it's getting pretty late here in Finland. Suppose I'll watch a takeoff, maybe the Sid and then go to bed. Okay, we'll get underway. 45 minutes and we are almost in the air. That's not bad for this channel. Now I'm going to do a bit of a quicker taxi here. Because we're on the runway. Don't want to go too mad. But yeah, you can get into these strange situations where if your company doesn't have the performance figures, so let's say you're going to a new airfield, you can get stuck having to backtrack even though you know the runway's long enough, but there's just nothing you can do. You can't go without the performance. I really don't understand why Microsoft Flight Simulator's main camera is like this. It's just terrible. It's, as someone pointed out, it's designed to be so you're flying from behind, you can get a view over the top, but I want my aeroplane in the middle. That's why I want this view. Anyway, I'll stop whinging about that. Eclipse wants to load up an F-18 and fly escort. Yeah, you're very welcome. Aaron says the Phoenix is probably the heaviest on performance of the pay airplanes. It is heavy, but I have no trouble with it on my computer. The NE Simulations 310 I certainly did at the start. I hope that's better now. Right, anyway, let's get some of the checks done. So, flight controls, you wouldn't do this backtracking typically. But you could do if this is a closed runway or there's not much going on. We'll say we've done the rudder with all of our advanced steering at the start. Let's get the weather radar on, transponder to TARA, auto brake to max, takeoff config pressed. Flap MCU disagree. There you go. Absolutely. Have I been talking about flap 1 the whole time and did this say flap 2? Very possible. So let's stop here and we'll just resolve this one. Stop bar. Oh, which one can we cross and which one can't we cross? We can't cross the solid lines. So this stop bar here we can cross without thinking about it. That will be because this one's designed for the runway behind us. It's a bit of a confusing way of doing it. So the first one is the one we have to actually obey. This does happen. There's the new Istanbul airport has this sort of setup, although they're slightly further apart. Anyway, yeah, this has said 2, and that was with the full length takeoff. So I don't see why I've done that. I wrote 2 in here. So let's actually set the correct flap setting. What that should have been caught in was the original checklist. So that is why airlines... Now, if you just read this checklist, you're just reading out the flaps you've got, which doesn't work. There's usually an answer from the other pilot for the flaps because it's so important. But anyway, there we go. Luckily, as ever, the Airbus looks after us. Particularly wind shear, I'm not as concerned about. But there we go. Put that to auto. So we've got flaps at 2 now, which now matches what we actually wanted instead of just making it up on the checklist. So that's a classic example of call and response on the checklist being incredibly useful, having 2 pilots being incredibly useful, And also having an Airbus that knows what you want being incredibly useful. Knows what you want more than you do. Good. Before takeoff checklist, flight controls check, TCAS is TARA, departure brief confirmed, takeoff data and FMA. Let's just check that carefully. We've got 9 right, flaps 2, no shift, which is going to be correct for 9 right, flaps 2, no shift. We're going that way, left turn, and back around. Good. I've got flaps config 2, and they're green up there, they're blue on there. ECAM memo, takeoff. Let's try again. No blue. Fun fact, if you put it at 0, I'm curious to see this. There you go. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, so I set the flaps wrong, hence the checklist caught it. Yeah. So instead of having the wrong flap, it gives you that caution. But if you try with the flaps actually at 0, it gives you a master warning. Yeah, there you go. Interesting. So we'll just let them run back to 2. So in both cases, you've got the wrong flap setting. But 0 is obviously considered quite fairly, considerably more dangerous. It says, single pilot ops is really hard when you vacate and as you're cleaning up. You get given an insanely long taxi to stand. Exactly, yeah. The after landing flows are famously done quickly across lots of different airplanes. Right, takeoff config test. There we go. That is all normal. So that is the before takeoff check is down to line. It's clear on the approach, clear on the right. Let's just announce it. Air India 320, taking off 09 right, Hyderabad, left turn out. I think our colleague knows what we're doing. So takeoff runway 9 right, strobes are on, packs are on. Lights are all on, put that to takeoff. That's the before takeoff check is complete. Brakes released, let's go. Reggie says, suppose Boeing wouldn't even think about discrepancy like that. No, I think it would just look for having the correct one. Well, it depends on which Boeing. I'm sure the more modern ones would know that. New airports, knowing where you are on the charts, it is difficult. It takes time and care, and 2 of you often to get that right. Good, so here we go. Oh, beautiful. Such a great looking livery. To leave the drone to make sure we do actually turn onto the runway. Right, let's go. So, start the clock. That was a 15-minute taxi, a bit ridiculous, or 15 minutes since we started up. Half side stick down, 50% N1. 2 clicks forward. Land Flex 65 SRS runway, order thrust is armed and blue. Audio on the Phoenix is top notch now. It sounds absolutely great. Pretty heavy at 66 tons. 8200. There's another Air India over there. That's great. 8200 knots, stick to neutral. Using plenty of runway. We're at quite an elevation, 2,000 feet elevation, so thin air, which is severely affecting our performance. I'm a little surprised it was Flex 65, but that would explain why we've gone flaps 2. V1, rotate. Massive runway. It just goes on forever, doesn't it? Positive climb, gear up. Nav. That runway is colossal. There's the end. Excellent. Nice smooth air this morning. Beautiful sunrise to take off into. Yeah, this is just a lovely machine. Right, thrust climb order thrusts. DJ W11 says, where have you been, sir? Yeah, I've been away. I'm so sorry. Yeah, life has been complex. You know, things things happen, and unfortunately that meant it was not possible. Right, above the airspeed, flaps to 1. Yeah, not possible to get the streams in as I'd hoped. Let's go up to our cruising altitude, 36,000 today. Oh, not 49. 36, set standards. Standards. Yeah, so sorry I've been away, but great to be back today, and thank you all for joining us. I hope you're all enjoying the video. Above the S, flaps to 0. Disarm ground spoilers. Lights off. Love the weather engine as ever. That sort of low level haze, spot on. Round we go. Yeah, no, life gets in the way sometimes, and just couldn't get the streams or videos in. So I've been feeling a bit guilty about that, but yeah, I've had this thumbnail ready to go for ages. The Boeing does, says Flyby 007, you set the flap setting in the computer, and if there's a discrepancy when you power up, it will let you know with a warning horn. There you go. Actual definition of positive climb, says Regix. It's that easy. It's a positive rate on the radio altimeter or the vertical speed indicator. On takeoff in the A320, the radio altimeter will drop to negative numbers because the tail is set at 0 when it's in the landing configuration. So as you rotate, the tail gets too close to the ground, so you get negative numbers. I would not take that. I wouldn't really say -3 feet to 0 feet is positive rate. You could be raising the gear a tad early there, just in case of a sudden gust or something like that. But yeah, that's a personal thing. That's not written anywhere. And there we go, off over Hyderabad. Goodbye, Hyderabad. Beautiful livery. Just great. Why can't I hear anybody else on that sim? I don't know. Right, after takeoff checklists. Landing gear. Up. ECAM. Checked. Barref. Standards. That's the after takeoff checklist complete. Boeing config is when you throttle up. Yes, on the 7.3 you have to drive the throttles forward, which I still can't believe that's the way of doing a config test. It's not really a config test, is it, if you have to actually drive the engines up? It's basically just a takeoff warning. 10,000 feet, lights are off, accelerating. Lovely calm air, 9 knots up here, very still. Seatbelts off. Yeah, in hindsight, that flap 2 makes a lot of sense because at that elevation of 2,000 feet and 20 degrees, that's hot, that's really hot. And the higher the altitude, the lower the density of the air. So with the high temperature as well, it's likely that you'd need a bit more flap out. However, it would affect your second gradient. So after you're in the air, having that flap out does drag you back a bit. So with a runway that length, I would have thought flap 1 would still be better. But computer says what it says. Quite heavy. Yeah, it is indeed 1228. Yeah, don't know why. Sadly, those aren't flags for VATSIM. That's just the multiplayer server checkpoint. Yeah, that's my fault. So if you want to jump into an F-18 and intercept us, you would manage. Grant Joseph Long says, great to see you back, Captain. Have you been caught in any of the weather we've had in the UK over the last few days? I just about escaped before it all went wrong on Sunday up in Glasgow. Yes, so if you're not in the UK, you won't have seen, but of course we had a millimetre of snow in the UK, and that absolutely took the country by surprise. And I think this year in particular, we had just sort of accepted that winter was going to be warm because we went all the way through October and November, and it was basically still, almost 20 degrees. It was just very mild. So I think it really caught us out when it suddenly dropped, and then we got a bit of snow as well. Airports in the UK struggle to clear. They don't de-ice and so on very often. So yeah, if you were trying to travel anywhere in the snow, you would have felt the effects. I mean, I went on Flight Radar 24 the other day, and every airplane, this was quite late in the evening, I was off, of course, and every airplane I clicked on was in the region of 2 to 4 hours late, and a lot of them were still in the middle of diversions. They were 4 hours late, and then they were diverting because airports were just closing to clear the runways and so on. So it's been quite something. I've had to deal with it a bit, but luckily I haven't had any of the of that level of disruption. Checkpoint says, why is every country around me snow and here it's just cold and grey skies? Well, don't worry, we had snow just for one afternoon, or maybe a bit overnight, and then it's just been cold since. But it's just not melted away. Lauren B says, a millimetre of snow caused the country to shut down. Are you sure you haven't swapped places with one and found yourself in Texas? Yeah. No, yeah, snow in the UK is very famous for being disruptive very easily. Sandbox says you can disable multiplayer mid-air in data settings. Yeah, we might do that. I might leave it alone, see how it goes. Ah. And Speedbird, sorry, I didn't hear the number, but we did hear you, Air India 320. I think that was a Speedbird we were talking. Thank you. Oh, there you go. We are talking to each other now. That's good. Yeah, so how long was that runway? Lauren B's absolutely right. It's probably needed for the long hauls. Yeah, 4,200 metres. It's longer than the Heathrow's runways, even in the UK. Yeah, I see. So I suspect 9 left isn't used as commonly then, given they got the nice big 9 right. Total guess, though. And it's a wider runway. Yeah, yeah. Don't know, though. So I'd imagine if you were short haul, you'd just scoot on like that. Anyway, done. Thank you, Hyderabad. That was great fun. Good, good, good. There's the traffic behind us. Catching up. We're going a bit slow. Let's take ourselves on a direct. Unlikely. It's not a very efficient departure, so we'll go back on yourself. So let's get turning. Rakon, good to see you. Rakon says, buenas noches. Someone's fleeing the mild English weather. Exactly. We're going to enjoy ourselves in a nice, mild climate. Good to see you, Rakon. I hope you're doing well. Grom says, Helsinki is one of the best airports in the winter. Yes, Helsinki's got no trouble. I think they even have heated stands. So where you try and park is heated underneath, so it doesn't get covered in ice. So it's not dangerous for the ground crew, or you'll walk around or the airplane to stop when it needs to park. Just the right way to do things. The beginner simmer, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Jimbo says, great takeoff, getting late, work tomorrow, good night all. Good night, Jimbo, thanks for joining us, glad you enjoyed the takeoff. Carl's problem is the UK and Ireland seem to have adopted the attitude of, well, it doesn't happen often, so we don't really need the resources, despite it being more common. Yes, well, I won't comment on that. James is connected to VATSIM now. There we go. Excellent. Hugh says, icy conditions make me a little nervous. Don't skimp on that de-icer. No, quite. No messing around when it comes to ice on the wings. Ah, there you go. Sandbar says 9 left is just a taxiway, really, in Hyderabad. Thanks for that. So, oh, good point there. Grant talks about, yeah, we had a lot of freezing fog in the UK. So, the snow caused a bit of chaos, but the real problem was this. We got this, after that, we got this fog. Freezing fog is enough. If I see freezing fog on a forecast, it makes me shudder because it's so disruptive. The problem with freezing fog is it gets in the engines and it creates fan blade icing, and that just is not... The icing of the wings and tail of the airplane is quite common, especially, I mean, any airport in Northern Europe's used to doing that. Now, in the UK, we're perhaps not quite as used to it as others, and could be quicker. But fan blade de-icing is a pain because it's just slow. It can't be done with the engines running, and yeah, it's yeah, and freezing fog can cause that. It's just when ice starts getting onto bits of the airplane that it's not designed for, or that aren't easy to wash off, it becomes a bit of an issue. Patrick says, have you done a parallel takeoff landing with another aircraft next to you? No. In Charles de Gaulle, I've done it in Charles de Gaulle where they look next to you, but they're still, they're a good like mile away, but that's quite cool. I've never done it like San Francisco. No. Spiro, thanks for the follow, and Breed and Excerpts. I hope you're doing well. Bedtime for Chickpoint. Got to start work at 7 Zulu. Good night, Chickpoint. I hope that it goes well, and great to have you here. Mark says, a friend of mine is flying to Lanzarote for Christmas. I've told him I'm going to fly along real time in the sim. Excellent, Mark, yeah. You can probably beat them there because you won't have to de-ice. Our first views of India. Again, I always like flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator because I have a genuine belief that this is somewhat representative of what it might look like out the window if we were exactly here in the real world. Second most populous country in the world after China. I didn't know that. And it's not even close because, of course, the third is America. So, but it's a population of India, something like 17% of the world's population. So, yeah, India has 1.37 billion. The United States has 333 million. And that's number 3. So 17% is in India, and then 4% in America. China has another 17.7, very similar to India. Yeah, amazing. Huge amounts of people in this in India living in the country. Flying for fun, good to see you. We're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Company message, indeed, Patrick. Thank you. I should have done this earlier. I haven't really been going along with the load sheets as I should be, but yeah, we're supposed to have accepted this initially, and then it will send us a second one in a moment. So I'll leave that up. Good. So it's currently 2:26. This has us in at 4, so an hour and a half, which is about right. Running a little bit late, so I'm just going to up the cost next. Let's try 40. Let's see if it's worth it. 4.6, arriving at 4. Wow. Wow. 400 was perhaps a bit much. 2 minutes for 100 kilos, not really worth it. 3 minutes for 100 kilos, still not really worth it. I'm surprised. I've never seen it make a difference when you start going up higher like this. Anyway, I'll leave it like that, just because it would just save us time in our simming. But yeah, there we go. really shallowed out the climb rate. Let's just check. Temperature's good enough for us to go up to 3.6. Yeah, maximum 3.79. So there's a bit of a margin. So should have no trouble even at these speeds. Something that I've always been impressed with the 320 is how well it climbs even at maximum speed. Yeah, the Dash 8 wasn't like that. Dash 8 you climbed at 210 knots and then you sort of let that wash off and then you get into the cruise and then re-accelerate. But 320 will climb at, I mean, maybe not. Maybe this is pushing it above decimal 8, but it will still give it a good effort. Powerful engines. Flyby 007 says, anyway, I've got to go. Thanks for the amazing stream and keep doing what you do. I think it's fair to say most of us have the same view. That's very kind. Thanks so much, Flyby. See you next time. Hugh says, do the pitot tubes have more protection since the Air France? Yes, they are more powerful. They were already being changed before the Air France incident, but the Air France incident, they hadn't been changed yet on that aircraft, sadly. Lauren V says, Charles de Gaulle still counts as simultaneous parallel, independent parallels, though, since they're split far enough. There you go. Yeah, it's not quite like San Francisco. Carl says, when I was going to Turkey, we flew into Ist, and it was parallel landing. That was cool to see. Very nice, yeah. Yeah, Istanbul would be one of them. Iglefu says, in Seattle, they land 2 side by side with a 3rd taking off. That's very cool. Apparently, they do simultaneous departures, according to Lauren V, in San Francisco as well. Yeah, I mean, the videos I've seen from pilots going to San Francisco, quite something. I can't imagine doing that. It would be good fun. James says, going to decrease speed to 280 to give you some spacing, keeping an eye on the gap. Thanks, James. We'll have plenty of time to brief what we're doing in the descent. Simply Tom says, hello, I passed my MEIR last week and have started my CPL this week. Your streams keep me motivated hearing you talk about how much you enjoy your job. That's great, Simply Tom. Yeah, it's a brilliant job and you're going to love it. Well done on passing your so that MEIR is multi-engine instrument rating, for those of you who are not sure. So that's early on in the stage. I say early on, that's a big deal. So well done. Excellent. Really, really brilliant. Time en route, about 1 hour 45 flights. We've been going for probably in the F-15. So, yeah, about an hour and a half. Might do a bit better than that. Lauren Reese says, CFM 320s are relatively slow climbers anyway. Yes, perhaps compared to the Ryanairs. I say Ryanairs, compared to the 737s, they are, which also have the CFM engine. I don't know why, but yeah, but A320s seem to be a little bit slower in the climb. But good when they're underway, good when they're in the cruise. There you go, Mark says, I watched Mental Pilot on the Air France accident and the plane was due to have the pitot changed when it got back to France. Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame. Simply Tom says, have you heard about the TUI MPL? Thoughts? I had not heard it was an MPL, but I had heard about TUI cadet scheme. Yeah. I always say apply to the cadet schemes. If you can have a job in lined up for you, then that can help. MPL, there's nothing wrong with the MPL license. The only thing you need to check is the. I'm not being specific here. I'm talking about in general. If you're applying to a cadet scheme for a multi-crew pilot's license, the only thing to be aware of is what happens if the airline that you're doing the license for fails in the meantime or doesn't take you at the end of your training. So what is the deal? So as long as there's some sort of insurance deal in there where they'll convert it for free, so that's quite a common one, where the flight school will just convert it to a normal license for you for free. That's the sort of thing you want. What you don't want to do is halfway through training your airline fails or says they don't want to take you, and then they say, well, you got to pay the flight school thousands of pounds to convert it to a normal license. But in principle, if you get an MPL and so on, absolutely brilliant news. Are the IE engine more performant than the CFMs? I don't think there's much of a difference, Jeff. I don't think there's much of a difference. Laura May says, IE 320s do better. Both the NEO and MAX are good climbers. Yes, so the NEOs, I would say there's definitely a difference. I noticed a difference operating NEO. It rockets up. They just got so much power. A light 321 NEO just is a machine. Four Prawns, good to see you. Four Prawns says, sorry to be missing the stream today, but thanks and looking forward to catching up later. You're very welcome, Four Prawns. We'll see you next time. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And I hope you're doing very well. I don't have experience with Boeing, J Hardwork. Only in my many streams where we've done Boeing stuff. And I just spend the entire time complaining that it isn't automatic. Paddy says, of course, it's important as a passenger to boo the pilots if your plane loses to the other plane on a parallel landing. Yes. Yeah. J Hardwork says, anything you like about the 737? Moving on. Simply Tom says, one of my flight instructors in Exeter was originally at L3 in Bournemouth. He dealt with a lot of the easy MPL problems during COVID. Yeah, it's such a shame. Outcruise, there we go, 36,000 feet. Not bad. Not bad. It's such a shame. Because there's nothing wrong with the MPL, but it's frustrating that licenses were getting tied to airlines. I don't see why it has to be like that. I think this whole... well, no. I won't go on a whinge. But the MPL is all about working as multi-crew. So why is it being tied to an airline? Because EasyJet don't operate... I'm not going to name airlines, but you know, if you're looking at an airline flying a short-haul jet airliner, then whatever you're going to end up flying, it doesn't actually behave the same as, or have the same procedures as the Cessna or whatever aircraft you're learning on. So even if you're using multi-crew procedures in that light aircraft, yeah, what's the difference? Why is it tied to an airline? Now here's a new one. I haven't seen this before. Why is this jiggling? That's a very strange effect. I haven't seen that before. Let's jump into... Oh, no. J Hard works. MPLs are amazing. I wish we had that in the USA. Indeed, but the USA was, yeah, I don't think it would. Not even close, is it? James is getting some amazing vapor trail views. Easy to spot you guys. Excellent. Right. Flying Zephyr says, can you do a flaps 3 takeoff from a short high density airport if needed? It depends. It all depends on the performance calculations. You can't know these things. You just have to run the numbers. But I would suspect so. Would be my guess. The A330 that couldn't says, I have a friend who did his commercial heli license with an offshore operator. He just got his type rating when his base was shut and was made redundant. Free license, no bond. But there you go. So it can work out. Simply Tom says the benefits of the TUI MPL over other airlines I've seen so far is that TUI are funding the whole thing and then bonding rather than paying up. That's amazing news. So important. Now, why pilots have to take any of the financial strain on at all, I don't know why that's become a thing. I suppose because demand has just been, there's just been enough pilots, people applying. But that means so much that they're funding it, because it will mean that people who couldn't have afforded it or couldn't borrow money against their parents' house and things like this can actually become pilots, which is very good news indeed. Boom Boom says, what happens if all 3 hide systems fail? Is the Airbus still controllable? Yes, but that'll just mean asymmetric engine flying. So let's see if I can show you this. So I'm just going to disconnect the autopilot, as we're not really under any sort of control. Autopilot's off. I'm not going to turn off the hydraulic systems, but you'd start to develop other problems if spoilers started to lift up and so on. But now I'm going to put it into alternate. Oh, I'm really playing with fire here. Let's leave ADL 1 on. Let's turn off 3 and 2. So you're going to drop into alternate law. Thrust lock. Okay, now I would normally do the ECAM and so on, but we won't do that. So let's imagine we've got no hydraulics at all. We can't do any sort of flight control stuff. So all you're into now is thrust. And if you're lucky enough and you have the strength, you might be able to run the trimmer a bit. But this happened to that DHL flight. Now losing all 3 hydraulic systems is unheard of. They don't all feed to the same place. So, you know, if you lost green and blue, you'd still have some of your spoilers to roll the aircraft. If you lost green and blue, you'd still have an elevator. You know, so it's incredibly well designed for redundancy that even if a whole part of the wing ripped off, you'd still have hydraulic systems that could control all the axes that you need. But if I want to turn now in alternate law, which is what you'd certainly be in if you lost all the hydraulic systems, reduce the thrust on the one engine, so reducing the right engine thrust. And now it slowly banks to the right. However, at this altitude, you've got to be very careful doing that. As you can see, we don't actually have enough energy to start messing around like that. So the speed is decreasing. Now I would expect the nose to drop by this point as we've taken thrust off. I suspect this could be a bit of a bug perhaps in the way the handling is set up, because it shouldn't just climb. It should, you know, in alternate. Oh no, it isn't. No, what am I talking about? No, it's not. We're not in direct law, are we? So you'd be in direct law if you lost all your hydraulics. So in direct law, the nose would have just dropped down like a conventional aircraft. That's what would have happened there. So you'd just be flying it on the engine. So if you want to go down, power off. I don't really want to put it into direct law because it could be a little bit. I don't want to mess up the sim for the rest of the flight. But yeah, could be a video one day. But yeah, you can control it just with the engines. It's hard. Landing like that would be a pain. You're hopefully only having to do that temporarily until you get some of your systems back. But it's possible, and it has been done by the aircraft, famously. I think it was an Airbus that had that. I think they were hit by a mine or something, or a missile. Alright, just gently level off again. So let's go. Flight director's on. We're in heading. On the auto thrust. Mac. AP1, outstart, heading. Might let me just go straight back into nav. Oh, we're 0.7 right. Quite a way off actually. If I just gently roll that left, out cruise. Nav, there we go. Carrying on to Asipi. Great news. Aviation says, have you had a chance to fly to or from Larnaca, Cyprus, when flying in the real world? I won't be too specific. We flew to Larnaca in the last stream, didn't we? In that lovely Cyprus livery. So, yes would be the answer. I have flown there in real life. Right. Adam says, what are some differences between the EASA ratings and FAA ratings? I'm a pilot in the US, just curious. I'm not sure about the difference between the actual ratings. That's a good question. I couldn't tell you that. Mr. Morning Trigger says, thanks for the video. Phoenix video is very helpful. Glad to hear it. Not again. Jeff says, I have a question about the Phoenix Airbus. I have a cheap side stick. I constantly get flight control left, right, ECAM memo. Even when my side stick works just fine. Is there a real ECAM memo? I'm not sure what the... no. Flight control left, right, side stick. I mean, what's it saying? Is it saying there's a null zone or something like that? Not sure. Not sure what that failure would be. Michael says, regarding the 737, I recently got back from Vienna on one. First time I've actually experienced a traditional... I won't say anything. I won't say anything. Yeah. You have a PTU, says Jay Hardwork. Indeed you do. Hello to Cards and Games. Thanks for joining us. J-Max says, I'm completely lost. Sorry. That's a bit of a big topic I went into there. The other Jason says, United 232 was a DC-10 that lost all 3 hydraulics. They managed to just barely get to an airport. About half the passengers and crew survived. Ah, yes, that one's famous. Yes, what I just showed you, flying around on just the engines, is a bit of a party trick almost. It's not something you'd want to do to try and land. It would be really hard, no doubt about it. James, good to see you, James. James says, I love working for ambulance service, but love flying, so just trying to do it for fun. Glad I decided to do it. It was the stream's faults. Yeah, great to hear. Great to hear. George Lumpkin, good evening to you. Going well, thank you. Nick says, how does currency work in airlines? How long can you be grounded without having to go into a sim, for example? I was a glider pilot and the rules are pretty strict. Yeah, it's, depends on the airline and your country. Usually in the region of a month to 2 months, somewhere around that. If you go over that sort of time frame, then you'll need to go into a simulator. Sometimes less. Often airlines will have stricter rules than that. There you go. Matteo says, United Airlines Flight 232 lost all 3 because of catastrophic engine failure on a DC-10. Ah, I did hear about that one. Didn't a big part of the engine let go, didn't it? An incredible story and a feat of airmanship if you haven't heard. Yes, I have heard of that one. Yeah. I remember that one. Yaroslav asks, do you always have to use manual start buttons when starting on air units? No. An air unit can start automatically if it provides enough air. James says, I love working for ambulance service, but been so good learning to fly for fun, however long it takes. Excellent, excellent. Calibrate null zones. No, so the calibrate null zones is not a real caution, Jeff, in the real Airbus. That's just in the Phoenix because your joystick is probably sending in static noise into the simulator. So what it's asking for is a bigger null zone to just ignore that, I suppose. Wicked Cookie says, hi, really late to the stream today, but glad I made it while it was live. Good to see you, Wicked Cookie. Thanks for joining us. Indeed, running at we're running a bit late as ever anyway, so no problem at all. Zaran says, can you explain flex real quick? Yes. When we take off, we don't need to run the engines at full power every takeoff because they're extra powerful. So we have a thing called flex temperature. What we're doing is we're telling the aeroplane that it's hot outside than it actually is. By telling it that, the airplane thinks, oh, it's hot outside, the air's less dense, so I can only use less fuel. Because when there's less dense air, you can't chuck in as much fuel. So by lying to the airplane and telling it it's really hot, the airplane will then go, okay, I'll use less fuel, and naturally that results in a lower takeoff temperature. So you tell it a fake temperature. The higher that temperature, the less thrust the engine will actually use on takeoff, and it just saves engine wear, fuel, noise. It's win-win. Even if an engine fails on takeoff, though, you don't need to go to full takeoff thrust. It's still certified at that lower rating. It's quite amazing. Simply Tom says, I did a landing in our Beach Duchess sim with just engines and trim as part of my IR training. Not sure it was on the syllabus. Very cool. It's easier. I don't want to. It's very challenging. So well done. And yeah, it's really satisfying thing to get right. It's hard in jet aircraft. They're slow to respond. The engines lag, and then the engines are below the wings. So you get the pitching up and down effect. Pitch trim couple. I wish Microsoft would give us an option to put this. I want this airplane here. I want it right in the middle of my screen. I wish they'd give us that option, because this is just ridiculous. It's so... I didn't used to be this far, I'm sure. So far down and off to the left. And then I have to zoom out so far to actually see it that it changes all the dimensions. Hence I use the drone so much. Contrail's looking good though. Even swirling in the right way. That's great. Vuji2, good to see you. Vuji says, hi folks, better late than never. Just landed in Finland with the Toliss. Autoland, a whole new experience. Excellent. Yes, we must fly the Toliss 747. Because does that work in X-Plane 12? Yeah, goodness me, I'm going to remember how to use that. Boom says, thank you for your answers, so very helpful. If you lost all electric generators and the rat wasn't working, what displays and controls would still remain? Can you still control thrust and electrics? You'd be on the hot battery bus. So yes, you'd be able to control the engines, I believe. Not heard of that happening. Oscar says, hi Captain, in the real world, do you ever adjust pack flow? If so, in what circumstances? Keep up the top content. Thank you very much, Oscar. Yes, great question. If the airplane is busy, then norm. If it's quiet, let's say you've got 10 passengers, and you put it to low. Now, the threshold will depend on the airline and the procedures and so on. But if you're under sort of 100 passengers, then you would expect it to be low, otherwise norm. It saves a cup of fuel, but this, you know, it's all incremental gains, isn't it? If it's saved, it's saved. So yeah, I'm a little surprised this switch exists, but it's quite common in pack flow to have a pack flow switch, to be honest. I think it's probably more useful for abnormal situations than it is for efficiency. But yeah, you can set it to low. The only other time you don't really bother setting it to high unless you're doing something a bit unusual. So norm or low if you remember to check. You won't see it on any checklist because it really doesn't matter that much. Not to say burning extra fuel doesn't matter, but what I mean is it's not a safety critical thing. Mark says, I find it odd in the Airbus that the standby PFD is still a glass screen. I would have thought a conventional artificial horizon was better in the event of electrical failure. So that's because you've got to think, where is the, the gyroscopes are being powered by electricity anyway. It's not using a vacuum system because, of course, we're not running the engines in the same way. So yeah, this is perfectly fine. It's just all of these screens are fed from different electrical sources, so it's all very well thought out. So there is a situation where you could end up with just this one. Very unlikely, but it is set up that way. Dhanjay Suresh says, super chatted very kindly, $20, really appreciate it, Dhanjay, very kind. Danjay says, thank you for a wonderful year of videos, streams and conversation. Looking forward to everything yet to come. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Danjay, really appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of the community. Thanks for coming along. And you know, the only reason we have these streams and chats is because you all show up and chat with me. So really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for that very kind donation. Very, very, very kind. I hope you do very well. And happy holiday and Happy New Year to you as well. Really appreciate it. Far too kind. No, so yeah, I can see that. Yeah, these screens don't run on battery power unless they're connected to the hot battery bus, which is it's not actually shown on here, but it's DC bat. There you go. Yeah, this is a very simplified version of what's going on, but the idea is if you lost all the generators and you weren't getting anything from the ram air turbine because a bird hit it or something, and you're having a really bad day, you could still have something, just something. Run a bit of a fuel check. So we've got 2.5 tons burned plus 6.7, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9.2, which is about what we set up with, adding fuel aboard to the fuel bird. It's sort of balanced, so it's all in the right place in the tanks. That's good news. 700 kilos in the outers. It's normally a bit less, but there we go. So that's all looking good. Bit of a systems check. It should just go straight between them, but there we go. Looking good. Simply Tom says, have you ever flown a positioning or super low passenger flight? Did the aircraft handle differently? Great question. Yes, most pilots will have done that at some point. Does it handle differently? Yes. They land terribly when they're empty. Terribly. Okay, not terribly. It's possible to have a nice landing with an empty airplane, but it's just not as easy. The airplane is affected more by the wind, and it rattles more. There's just less weight to be soaked up. The shock absorbers don't absorb as quickly. I think that's in my theory, that would be the main problem. But yeah, so heavier is better. Heavier airplanes. I love flying. You know, if I could just fly the Airbus around at max landing weight and max takeoff weight, that would be fine by me. It's a nice machine at those weights. Zaran says, right now I'm studying the electric system for the 320. Is there any method as to better remembering what things do and quicker? Oh, well, I mean, no, I don't know any. I might suggest that yeah, no, sorry, I don't know any great tips. It's hard. I know when you're learning a new aircraft type, it's hard to differentiate information that's useful and information that's just there. But I don't have any top tips for you on that one, I'm afraid. I remember learning the air conditioning systems for the 320. That was the hardest part for me. That seemed to take forever. Good night, Wide Rumble. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you're very welcome. Boomum says, thank you for answering the niche questions. I've always wanted to be a pilot, but worried about failures in general. How often would you say failures occur in real life? Okay, so failures don't occur often in real life, but if they do occur in real life, there's nothing concerning about it. The things that pilots deal with that might actually... you're more likely to have like a medical emergency or something like that. That happens relatively regularly. I say regularly, that's just you do hear them around and so on. If I'm on a radio, the few times over the last few years I've heard anyone declare a pan, nearly always it's for a medical, someone on board is ill. Nearly always. Because the reality is these aircraft are designed just to handle the failures. So, you know, I could fail, we could lose one of the packs, we could lose a generator, we could lose a hydraulic system, and we could lose an engine. We could lose all of that, you know. So we've lost half of our main systems here, and lo and behold, I'm sat in the cruise, the autopilot's still in, it's still flying at decimal 8, and we're in normal law, and there, I could probably quite comfortably fly this airplane to where I want to go. You know, it's ridiculous how well engineered they are. Now, it's not all aircraft, but in general. And then all aircraft do have to obey a certain safety standard. So even if the aircraft didn't keep the autopilot in, you know, it'd still be flyable with all of these failures. And then I could lose another hydraulic system. There you go. We do get a master warning for that because we lost the autopilot and we're going to alternate law. But, you know, airplane's still flyable, still in the cruise, still pressurizing. And that's with both of the main hydraulic systems switched off. AP1, Mac, out cruise, nav. We'll just put the air pack 1 on. Yeah, pressurization systems can fail. We can manually control it. I mean, fire in the engine, we can shut it down and press the fire bottle. Fire in the cargo holds, we can do those. It's, yeah. So, failures, very rare, manageable, and often don't even result in diversions. Just carry on and get it fixed when you get there. Not always, but often. Armin Addict says, took off earlier from CYWG heading to CYYZ, and the charts for the runway 36 departure read climb and maintain extended runway centre line by best available means, anticipate radar vectors. I suppose they just mean you're going to get vectored by air traffic control. So in theory, you'd have air traffic control give you radar vectors. What that means is air traffic control will give you, it's called vectors, but I don't know why, it's just they'll give you headings. So they'll tell you the number. So they'll say fly heading 330, and you turn on to heading 330, and they'll say fly heading 020, and then you turn to 020. So that's what vectors means. It just means that someone tells you exactly what heading to fly. Sorry, I'm way behind on the question. That question has been answered. Apologies. Simon says, on plane 11 with the Toliss, the plane on the taxiways and runways keeps putting over to the right. Is that real thing, or is it my joystick not calibrated? Something's not calibrated there, Simo. Maybe your rudders, axes, or whatever you're using. Unless it's very windy. If you're landing and there's a strong crosswind, it will pull. It will try and point in that direction. James says, I've had calls to my local airport a few times. Weird meeting it out on the airfield, but always amazing what the flight crew do. Airplane silent is fun too. Yes, you see ambulances whizzing around aircraft, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, well, it's an amazing job you do, James, working in an ambulance. Absolutely amazing. Jency says, you mentioned loose hydraulics. The only solution was to steer it with engines before landing. Yes, so for that to happen, you'd have to lose 3 independent hydraulic systems before you'd be in that situation. So you'd have to lose a green system and yellow system. Either of these systems can be fed by the other one through the PTU. So if we lost the engine 2 pump, you hear the caution, but the reason nothing happens is because the yellow system is then just fed via the green system through the power transfer unit, the PTU. So we still, even if we lose the pump that drives the power of that hydraulic system, we still have 3 hydraulic systems. So the only time you lose that actual system, you'd need to lose both engines, or you could lose the let me get this right. Yeah, if you lost the fluid in the system, the actual physical fluid, because then it can't do anything. There's nothing you can do then. So that's just pointless. So the 3 independent systems would have to all be catastrophically damaged and lose all their fluid before you lost them, and then you'd be onto the engines. And that's just, you know, just a very unlikely situation. And the reason that's unlikely is because they're separated around the aeroplane, sort of on purpose. I mean, some aircraft just have 2 hydraulic systems. That's how some are done. Saren says, also, do you think flight factor for X-Plane 11 is good for study level? I haven't used it, I'm afraid, Saren. I have not used it. Patrick says, is it worth getting a different job before joining the airlines to get experience in the workplace before becoming a pilot? If you're just doing it for the sake of getting experience, then if you want to be a pilot, I wouldn't say so, no. But if you need it for the money to help pay for training or anything, or you want to do it, then, you know, that's totally different. But if you think you need to do it just to be a pilot, no. Depending where you are in the world, of course, some places that may be different, but in the UK, airlines aren't going to look at your other job and go, oh well, that makes a difference. They're looking for the right experience, enthusiasm, and so on. So if you can get a job in the industry, you know, before you become a pilot, then that can definitely help. Paul says, what is this, the plumbing channel? Yeah, there you go. Boom Boom says, honestly, you have to be my favourite YouTube channel. So informative and so nice and friendly to everyone about all the questions. It's very kind, Booms. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. I'm glad we've been able to answer some questions for you. Samuel says, what's the go with the dual PTUs on the 310? Ooh, I don't know. Long-haul aircraft will have more redundancy. So the A320 has 2 autopilots and 3 hydraulic systems. But long-haul aircraft will have, some of them will have 3 autopilots. And most short-haul aircraft don't have as many systems as this. I think the 737 only has 2 hydraulic systems, doesn't it? Oh, maybe not true, but yeah, the Airbus is over-engineered for a short-haul aircraft. The 320 is essentially a long-haul aircraft in a small aeroplane. Hence the 330. It's just the same, you know. It does more than it needs to. Raikon says, compared to the airliners, thank you, Sean, for the subscription, and Jonathan, if I didn't say. But yeah, Raikon says, compared to the airliners, general aviation, or private aviation, seems to be much more dangerous, seeing all these old aircraft flying around with not much redundancy. So, you know, yes, it's the reality. Whether it's actually dangerous or not is a matter of risk perception and how you think of the statistics. But sure, like private aviation is not on the same safety level as commercial, and there's a reason for that, which is that if you go and fly your own airplane around, then you're taking those risks yourself. But if you go and buy a ticket to fly on a commercial flight, you expect it to be as safe as it can be, and it is incredibly safe. It's remarkable how safe aviation industry is, and touch wood, hopefully that continues. It's pioneering, but it's one of the safest industries out there, if not the safest, because of the way it's set up, which is a great achievement through a lot of work, for a lot of years and a lot of people. Jonathan Solander asks about the Phoenix. I'm not sure about that one, Jonathan. Sorry, I don't know. I haven't had that problem. Andrea says, hi mate, love your videos. Been trying to perfect my landings with the Phoenix, but finding it so hard. Any more tips since the latest update? Followed your last video, which was great help. I'm glad the last video helped. I'm going to try it out. My usual tips are 30 feet, flare, idle shortly after that, before touchdown. But yeah, it is hard to sort of explain. I appreciate it takes time. That's why I might do a video with the camera if I can get around to setting it up. Agrimeister says part of that redundancy in the A320 is from the fly-by-wire system. No. Yes and no. The fly-by-wire system helps. Well, yeah, no, I suppose it is. It's all, yeah, it's all part of the design. Yeah. 737 only has 2 hydraulic and IRS. There you go. 900 subscribers till 70k feeders long haul using LTN nav systems as we do. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what we end up with. Hello. I'm so sorry. As ever, I won't be able to get the name right. I must translate it one day. Well, it's no translation. It's a name. But yeah. Anyway, hello to you. Thanks for joining us. I should learn how to say it. That's what I meant to say. Varkon says Cirrus does a great job with its parachute and autoland function. Already saved souls. There you go. Yeah, that is quite an achievement in private aviation. I do indeed, Mike, have Toby. Now, for some reason, my Toby today, it did wake up. Oh, there we go. I have the Toby. I do not have track IR. But I like the Toby. I like it a lot. Yeah, great, really good. Andrea says, I've been doing some touch and goes with Luton. I either float down the runway or slam into the ground. I was acing the side of the wire. Strange. I'll see how this update is. I haven't landed this update version. I don't think yet. Yes, good question. Mallory says, what is the benefit in using the manual thrust during final approach? The Phoenix landing calculator always gives you a shorter minimum runway length compared to auto thrust on. That is because there's always a penalty applied when auto thrust is on in all of the Airbus landing calculations. My understanding is that is because you fly 5 knots faster than VLS. But I'm not. I would need to go back and check that as to why that is. But yes, landing with the auto thrust on has a penalty, which does seem a bit daft. Not daft, but it's counterintuitive perhaps. But yeah, the calculator is correct. Fabio says, when you get hired as an airline, do you get hired already knowing what aircraft you will fly, or is it determined after the... I assume it means after the joining. After you're hired. It will depend on the airline. Some will offer a job on a specific airplane. Some will just say you join us and then we'll tell you which airplane we want you on. And it will be different in different parts of the world, I imagine. But yeah, no guarantees in airlines. If an airline tells you you're joining onto a certain airplane, that won't be guaranteed until you're actually sat on it. Nick said, if I were a first officer and felt uncomfortable with a difficult landing, for example, could I ask the captain to do it? And would that be frowned upon? No, if you're the first officer and you want the captain to land, I'm sure the captain would rather you say that and they land than you put yourself out your comfort zone. Yeah. No, that wouldn't be frowned on at all. If it's close to your limits as a first officer, then no problem with the captain just doing it. Yeah. Vucci2 says, flying the Toliss in X-Plane 11 is great because you can fly the same approach over and over until you get it right. Save function is just, yeah, that save function is so powerful in the Toliss. It's just brilliant. Indeed, Max, this is an escape from the cold ops in Europe, exactly. Britannia 737 says, hi, with the A320 being so popular for Airbus, would they... I assume that means A320 being so popular for Airbus, would they or can they make a model for long range, a bit like a 321 XLR? No, I think the 321 is the only one they're going to do that to. I can't imagine they would do a 20 XLR. Just because of the numbers. Maybe, though. Maybe. Mark says, my Toby won't stay stuck to my monitor as there's very thin bottom edge, so there's not enough surface area for the sticky pads. Can't use the other fixings as it's a curved monitor. Yes, I have the same problem, Mark. It does come off and I have to just re-stick it. It does always re-stick, but yeah. I have the same problem. Vucci asks, do you find you can recall waypoints and approach procedures off by hearts? Well, yes, there's things, if your home base you will know, but still just sort of have a bit of a check. But yes, your home base, obviously you'll know, and then somewhere you go regularly. But you do have to be careful if you start, you still can't just guess it. Things like minima can change, frequencies can change, and it'd be a bit embarrassing to miss an RS because you just guessed, or you didn't guess, but you remembered the old one, Jumper asked if I'll make an updated training pattern video for the Phoenix. Yeah, that could be fun. We haven't done that for a long time now, since before Microsoft Flight Simulator, really. Maybe that's something I should do. So, something I could consider, Jumper. Of course, it is basically the same as... It would be exactly the same as what I did in the Toliss 321 timings and everything. So perhaps that's why I haven't done it, but it could be an option. My name is Nikolai, Captain. Ah, thank you, Nikolai. Right, Nikolai, thank you so much for coming along, and I must remember that, Nikolai. Nikolai says, thank you for the content. As always, nice to see the stream. Really appreciate it, Nikolai. Thank you for the £5 donation. Thanks for coming along to watch the stream, and thank you for supporting us. And yeah, thank you for coming along to so many streams. I know we've seen you here a lot, and I'm sorry I've not been able to read your name correctly. But yeah, thank you, and thank you for your very kind donation. Really appreciate it, Nikolai. Right, so Hayden says, if you could design your perfect aircraft from a pilot's perspective, how different would it be from the 320? Good question. Good question. I would have a 320. I would have the thrust levers that move with the auto thrust. I think. Yes, I think so. I don't see why not. I would... What else would I do? I would connect the side sticks. I would definitely keep the side sticks in the tray table. That's great. But I'd have the side sticks move, matching each other. The view out the front's great. The visibility's great. The overhead panel's great. I would put squidgy material on the armrests. They're both hard plastic. I want them squidgy. But the seat's lovely, no problem with the seat. You can sit in there for hours and not get any backache or anything. It's very adjustable, very nice. What would I do else differently? I'd probably lower the windows a bit. If you look at the way the 320 windows are set up, now they're big windows and they go behind you, which is nice. But compared to, like, I have sat in the flight deck of a 787 once, and the windows on that come down to like here. It's great, really cool view. And the Embraer 145 has a similar sort of thing. I just think it'd be nice, just for a sheer selfish sort of nice view sort of thing. No actual advantage to that. Time until touchdown, Patrick. Let's have a look. We're probably getting quite close now. 3:55. Yeah, half an hour. Half an hour to touchdown. Descent will be coming up soon. There it is. So time to brief in a moment. I'll have to stop answering questions. Thank you again, Nikolai, for your kind donation. Grumpy has to go to bed. Good night, Grumpy. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's getting late. My goodness, I'm way behind on the chat. Wiki Cookie says, how often do you play with the chair settings real life upon landing? Or do you know the perfect setting? I know the setting I like for landing, but so if I don't think I'm in it on final, I would end up adjusting the seat. Yeah, pilots often fiddle with the seat on final. It does make a difference. You just got to be exactly where you should be. I would consider flying the 380, and the fly-by-wire I would love to fly it when it comes out. Looking forward to that. Rakon says, Airbus revealed recently that they're developing their own hydrogen-powered fuel cells. The engine seems to be already in advanced development. That would be great. Hydrogen engine, I mean, anything like that, absolutely brilliant. Mateo says, I once pushed 25 random failures in the Phoenix while in the climb below 10,000 feet and still managed to divert to an airport and land with nearly no hydraulic or electrics. Remarkable. Yeah, the Airbus is just incredible. Just incredible. Piano Learner says, do airline pilots have to bid for flight schedules like USA pilots seem to have to? No, slightly different system in Europe and the UK. You'll get a roster. Some people will be on standby, or standby's just mixed in, but we don't do this thing where you have no flights and then when you're new you just jump constant reserve. That's slightly different in the UK. Ebo says this flight is turning into a red eye fast. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. So apologies, I'm going to have to move on from the questions and start working out how we're going to get into Delhi, capital of India. There's our arrival starting. So let's just check no one's online. It's brutally early in the morning, so I would not expect so. No. VIDP and open the charts. Oh dear. That is not what I hope to see. Barbox 5 Bravo. Barbox. There it is. Okay, not so bad. And then Lauren V did agree that runway 28 was possible. Go initial and final. Wow, arcs. Some proper arcs there. And then airport chart. So 28, yeah, that seems fine. Off at Kilo 1. Over to the main terminal. Maybe Kilo 2. I have parking stands. Oh, not that one. That's more like it. Just in case someone does come online. Good. Okay. Oh well, so it's relatively straightforward. So here's our arrival. Let's just check it all over. We go to plan, zoom in. How do you fly DME arc? Well, I'm just going to tell the airplane to do it the lazy way, frankly. Plan, zoom in. Let's check. So from Bavox, Saplo, Sego Saplo, DP505. There's the Bavox 5 Bravo, and then it should take us to DP504. No, it doesn't bother. Right, so this will be the transitions missing. The via, approach via. Let's go via. So it's just a downwind sort of vector, and then they'd vector you for 28. But that's no, actually no, it's not, because we don't want to go over here. We're landing on 28. So DP504, and then RS28. So we could go via. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we're going to fly any of these arcs. Let's forget the via. Let's just see what it's got. Oh, it connects automatically. Oh, well, we'll leave it alone then. Stat flow DP505. And then FS711. And then on TRS, it's into 28, CO28, yeah, okay. So FS711 is somewhere here. I feel like I'm missing a chart here. This is obviously not what they normally use. Simply Tom says, this is the issue I was having. An approach called for a DME arc, but when I went to program the FMS, it just went straight to the ISS. Yeah, so these arcs would be coded. The Airbus has them coded if you're flying it. I mean, let's try. Let's put an RS28. Let's put approach via SAM. Oh, that's not good. Okay. Yeah, that would be a quick way to depressurize. There you go. So there's the DME arc. So that would take you from the SAM. So I have to put the correct via in, and then it would fly the arc round. But we're not going to do that. I'm just going to skip that and go straight in. There you go. Yep, so we'll do the arcs, but we'll just erase that. We'll stick with the quickest route. Good. And then the ILS itself. Inbound course 284. Yeah, 1103. 283, that's close enough. 3-degree glide slope. All fairly normal. Elevation of this airfield is 780 feet, so pretty high up. Not as high as where we left. And quite a short ILS as a result. 2,600 feet, so only about 1,900 feet platform altitude. Very low. So we'll watch out for that one. Fully configuring as soon as we start down the glide slope if we're down at 2,600 feet. MSA is 2,600 feet. So there you go. Makes sense. Good. We got our plan to roll out. We'll go for low water brake. Idle reverse. Vacate to the left and go and park somewhere. Let us load in the weather. (2703), so runway 28 makes sense. Thanks for the subscription, JFF Everio. So 2703, it's a bit hazy. 21 degrees, 1017. Now, this descent speed's hopeless. That's something I will change. Descending at decimal 8344, no good. So put 78 and let's do 320 knots. So that would actually bring the descent point closer towards us because descent would be slightly shallower. That's a crazy steep descent. That's why I was a little surprised we weren't already. Well, that meant that the descent arrow wasn't sooner. So there we go. Yeah, the high cost of Nexus, the descent speeds are just unrealistic. You can't descend at that speed. You'll just end up overspeeding. Right, let's put in 2703, 21. QNH 1017. Yeah, good. Minimum for that ILS. We're going with 1006. Coming full landing. If we go around, engine out acceleration. It's 2,600. That's all in. Good, let's put in the threshold then. VIDP. Landing at runway 28. We are 130 miles away, but remember it's slightly elevated, so slightly closer. Slow Pro says, hello from the fly-by-wire A320 non-vaccine noob who's been flying behind you. Finally caught one of your streams live. Love your videos. Keep up the good work. Really appreciate it, Slow Pro. Thanks for joining us. Glad you enjoyed the videos. Let's see if we can see you. There we go. Not, if you've got an A320 flying around, nothing newbie about that at all. That sim isn't for everyone, there's no doubt about it. Let's see what this message is. ADC for 248, but 248, I thought we were about 400 minutes early. Seems a bit unfair. The ILS course in reality would match the chart. Yeah, typically it matches better than this. Just database discrepancies, really. Let me load up the replay software. Unless I missed something about an update and we all have replays available to us naturally now. I doubt it somehow. Pops ears, yes indeed. That cabin altitude there you would have definitely felt. Vucci says, is there any easy way to choose a style that corresponds with a particular runway? For new airports, it can take forever to select. No. Yeah, if wind changes, some airports just are terribly designed in that sense that there's just endless charts and choices to make. Henzo says, just like to say that you're the reason I got into flight sim and planes in general. Thanks. You're very welcome, Henzo. That's really, really great to hear. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Reef and Reptile Automation says, hey there, love your content. Do you ever use the pop-outs in the windows? I noticed specifically on the Fenix, they seem to not go full screen on other monitors. Is it just me? I don't use the pop-outs, I'm afraid. Just because I'm always framing my stuff for videos and streams, so it's always just on a 16:9 sort of format. 5.5 tons of fuel, so we are doing well. More than we needed by a long margin. Landing with 5.2 now, yeah. We have significantly underburned compared to the sim brief plan. Right above 150 at Saplo. But we know the deal now. I'm just going to put the platform in at 2,600 feet. Managed descent. Now this is not realistic because of course, oh, what am I doing? Not that one, that one. Because in the real aircrafts you'd never get descent this far. There'd just be airplanes around you, so you couldn't do it. But we'll set the QNH and then leave it in DES mode and it can follow it. Thrust slide or DES, out blue, 2600. So it obviously doesn't think it's going to have any trouble. It thinks it's going to be way above 150 at Saplo anyway, so it doesn't even have to register it as a constraint. If we go into the box, we can actually see at Saplo it reckons it'll be at 178. There you go. Plenty above. Down we go. Nikolai says, why are satellite instruments sometimes different when I load into the Fenix? Sometimes the VOR thing is below the ISS. That is an airline option. So, sim settings, airline modifiable. What you're seeing is airframe. There you go. Sorry, airframe. Standby. I've got ISIS, integrated standby instrument system, which is this. I can swap it to the analog, which gives us the artificial horizon, but that needs to be aligned or caged, so you do that whole thing. And then there's the DDRMI, which is this thing. Not required, often not used, but then that does sit there for some, and if you turn it off, it's gone. So this saves according to the livery in a lot of Fenix liveries, so that's why you'll be seeing that swap around. Good, seatbelts and stay off. We're really diving down now. 0.79. Landing in 3:55, which is 20 minutes. Pretty good going. Absolute Yoda, thanks for the follow. Andreas says, in real life, do you have to fly a certain amount of hours before airlines allow you to land in places like Corfu, Skiathos, Gibraltar, and Madeira without ILS? Yes. Yeah, most airlines will have some sort of experience requirement for trickier places. They'll typically say something like captain-only landing, or maybe in certain conditions. So at night, captain-only landing. Some places like Madeira will have specific training that some of the crew will do. So maybe the captain has to have specific training, or both pilots, like Innsbruck. Charles says, Phoenix have said the engine model will always be too efficient until they get their own custom model made. You can change the engine perf in an AC status page, just like our real life note for fuel prediction. There we go. Thanks, Charles. Yes. Yeah, it's efficient. They've done that as a compromise, and I think it works well. Just slightly underburns. Simo says, in the remote situation of a triple hydraulic failure, you'd never be able to move the flight controls on an Airbus with fly-by-wire. Would it be possible on a 737? I don't know. I don't know if you'd have the strength. Maybe at low speeds. Sweezam says, your job is so fun you do it on your free time. I'm jealous. As a teacher, I would never pay a teaching simulator. Yeah. I am lucky that I enjoy my job so much. Yeah, I do appreciate that. It's what I always wanted to do, and it's what I thought it would be. Not always. There's some parts of it that are not what I thought it'd be, but the flying is just lovely. And getting to do that around the world in the Sims is great fun. And just chatting to people who are enthusiastic about it really helps as well. Really enjoy that. Fly-by-wire has great physics as well as the Phoenix. I can't pick between them. Absolute Yoda says, no problem, love all your videos. Very much have pretty much honed all my Airbus skills following you. That's great to hear. Thanks, Yoda. Thank you. Patrick says, do you prefer warm white lights or cool white lights in the cockpit? I don't mind, actually. I'm not usually a fan of cool white lights, but the LEDs are quite, because they're so bright, they're actually quite good on the flight deck. The warm yellow ones can sometimes be a bit dim, so I can go for either. I can go for either. EDL88 asks about what's the most common configuration. It just depends, really. In airline modifiable, I have a video about this if you want to on my channel, and I explain each of these. Nav and go around would be common these days. LDEV common these days. Brake fans entirely optional, not common in some airlines, common in others. Ice detection not common. Yellow hydraulic steering. Oh, let me think. Is that common? I can't remember which way around it would be. Or CCAS not common, but getting more common now. So maybe that would be common. FLS not very common. ACC auto very common. So I'd say this would be the basic situation to be in. Ice detection brake fans and FLS, no, that's very new still. Ice detection, no one pays for it. Maybe some do, but rare. Brake fans, optional. Entirely as you wish. But AC essential, definitely on. Nav and go around, definitely. LDEV, definitely. Auto TCAS is becoming quite normal. So that's 250. So what if we're running late and I want to keep the speed up? What we can do is cheat a little bit, leave it in DES, wind the speed up. Now this is not a good efficient way of doing it. The engine's going to rev up, it's quite embarrassing, everyone's going to hear it in the cabin. And what's going on with the sound? I feel like the engines should be a little bit louder. Is there a way to adjust the sound? Maybe that's in here. Yeah, the engine sounds, they've clearly done a clever thing with the fading, but I think they should just be a little bit louder at this point in the process. Skeeter Stream says, very late for you. Indeed it is, yeah. I'm feeling how late it is now. Will we ever see an A320 cockpit refresh, Ivan? No. Only if it's a new airplane. That's my belief. No evidence of that. That's just what I think. LDEV is in the options because it's that is applicable when you're doing a non-precision. So if we were doing a VOR approach or something, and you had LDEV selected in there, when I activate the approach phase, you'll see LDEV on here. To be honest, I've never looked at LDEV or really cared about it, but it does just appear these days. Jonathan says, what would you say are the main benefits of becoming an airline pilot? Well, that either you want to or you don't, I suppose. It's not very... If you start weighing it up, then it's probably... I mean, if you love flying, then the benefit's obvious, I suppose, which is that you get to fly airplanes around and be paid to do it. So that's the best advantage of the job, really. Another advantage would be that you don't have work come home with you. You just go home, you go to bed. Once you get off the airplane, no one really wants anything from you. There's no emails, there's no targets to meet. And you get spectacular views. You fly with some great fun people, often share the same interests, sit and chat with them. But of course there's loads of negatives as well, so you've got to really love the job to enjoy it. Because don't forget, you're working shift work, you're working odd hours, you're dealing with disruption. You don't get paid when you're hours late. So those pilots I was saying earlier, they're flying around 4 hours late. They're not getting extra money for that often. They just miss a night in bed with their family, you know, or at home with their family. So yeah. You're reliant on passing your checks every 6 months, which is not usually a problem, but some people find that a bit stressful. Your medical, your health means that you could at any moment get diagnosed with something, and then even if it means you're okay, but you could lose your license to fly. So there's plenty of there's flip sides to it. Right, let's go manage speed now, or we're going to run out of energy. We are really storming in. Here's the haze over there. Start recording. 10,000 feet. Passengers can sit down. Put our landing scales up. There they are. More drag required, no surprise. So speed brakes out. 30 miles out, 10,000 feet, doing 300 knots. We are fast. No way around that. Then I says, you're a glorified bus driver in the air. Well, indeed. Retrofitting a heads-up guidance system. Airlines will unlikely pay for that unless there's some significant regulatory advantage, like you can get into airports that you can't. And the Airbus can already land Cat 3B, so I'd be surprised. Adam, good to see you. Adam says, how has the flight been? Sorry, I missed it. It's been very well. Good, thank you. It will all be up on YouTube for you to enjoy later, should you choose to. Right, speed brake out. There we go. Ah, just so pretty, this airplane in this sim. Unbelievable. Quite interesting, this terrain around here. There we go. Here are the speed brakes. Lots and lots of sort of divided up fields. Charles says, is the most important thing landing a jet still to just keep your eyes outside and just use red out, call outs, VSI, etc. for situational awareness? Yeah. Eyes outside. You don't need the red out or the pappies or any of that. You can just land on the runway. That's what you're trained to do. IPLM is identified down there. This is not very efficient descent now. I don't like... If you use the speed brakes, you don't want to then have the engines rev up. It doesn't feel very efficient. IPLM is the ILS we're looking for. That's good. Let's just do a bit of an announcement. Delhi traffic, Air India 320. Approaching left base for an ILS runway 28. Eleven 310 says that. Yeah, 310 is good. I do enjoy that. Let us run the checklist. So, approach checklist. ECAM status checked. We fixed all of our problems from earlier. We've got approach type and runway. We've got the ILS runway 28. Minima 1006. Barrow. Approach phase is not yet active. Let's just do that as it's sitting at green dot anyway. Approach phase is active. And clear an altitude. We are indeed. Barrow F. We've got 1017 set. Looking good. 190 knot speed limit here, so we need to bring out some flap below the lines. Flaps 1. Sinking into the Merc. It was below 3 kilometers of visibility, so yeah, quite gloomy down here. Delo says, I need to get back into the A320. Try the default again. Don't try the default. Get the fly-by-wire. I would recommend anyway. At your own risk, of course, if it messes up your sim or anything like that. But I use the fly-by-wire. Do you get familiar with people who are on ATC in the UK when flying in the real world? Andreas asks. Yeah, you do, yeah. Wherever you're used to flying, you'll get familiar with them. If you fly somewhere every day, yeah, you'll know them different voices. I think that's our colleague behind us, but it's coming through quiet. They could just be a bit far away. Just turn up my VATSIM audio. 5,000 feet, speed at 190, all looking really good. 12 miles out, but we are it's almost 1,000 feet elevation, so we're actually about 4,000 feet with the runway, so that's about 12 miles. That works perfectly, and we're descending nicely. Oh, are we getting the Embraers? What Aerosoft flights did we have? Yeah, this descent wasn't great. Because we sped up so much, I was expecting to use a speed brake, but then this segment was planned with a bit of a level bit in it, so yeah, if I was doing it myself, I wouldn't have done that. But I've managed to descent the whole way down this time, just being a bit lazy, letting the Airbus take the strain. I prefer side stick. First pilot this commercial aircraft on short haul, year 2200. Let's go flaps 2. That's going to be my current prediction for that. Get those landing lights on. Now I could be talking complete nonsense, but that would be my current guess. Round the turn, arming the approach. That is glider, localizer, blue, Cat 3 is dual AP1 and 2 on. 20 knot headwind.
Daily traffic, Air India 542, 10 miles to base turn, ILS 28.
10 miles to base 10. Okay, so that's them there. Okay, perfect. Great. So Lockstar, we are in. 175 is coming to Microsoft Flight next year. Wow. That'll be great. I'd love to do that. I hear very good things from the Embraer family, and I know some Embraer pilots, so that would be really good. That'd be really good. Radio altimeter's live 2,500 plus about 700, 3,200. So that's coming live at the right point. Suggests our QNH is correct. So that's good news. I'm just going to get rid of DES mode now, put it into vertical speed, and inset that glide slope. Yeah, now those engines are really screaming away. The Embraer is inbound, may not be the most... So is that going to be free, the Embraer, or is it payware?
Payware 257, insert and call pattern just to get some space from the aircraft.
Glide slope start. We're going to go with 2,600 feet for the go around altitude. We're 7 miles out from the runway, all making sense. And your 320 daily traffic, ILS runway 28, now passing 7 miles. Good stuff. Payware ATR. Oh, an ATR would be fun as well. Oh, so many things coming. God, I missed so much news. Yeah, the engine sound seems to sort of fade up and down. I'm not sure. It's quite good, but I think I'd probably prefer them to be a little bit louder in the sort of later, a bit higher up. Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to try it a bit more. This first flight with this version. Right, anyway, 5 miles. We better get the gear out. On the ground spoilers, nose lights. Now, some airlines like you to leave the gear to travel and then do the flaps to reduce strain on the hydraulics. There you go. Now we go flaps to 3 and flaps to full. Run the landing checklists. Auto brake is low. Missed approach altitude 2,600 feet is set. And eco memo landing there blue. It's a low missed approach altitude, so yeah, we'll reach that very quickly. Here's this haze. Yeah, typical. 757 I am looking forward to, but yeah, seems to be a long way off. Right, feet up on the pedals. We are stable. We're not visual. So let's keep it going. Murky. Iglefu said, I read stats that years ago this airport had the most Cat 3 landings a year of all airports due to smog. Interesting, yes. Well, we're about to have an auto land at this rate. In these conditions, it's easier actually at night because the runway lights would just mean you'd have probably seen it by now. The FO is joining us at exactly the wrong moment. Hello, I know I can't help you right now. We're landing. I know. Well, you've missed out. Wow. Right down to minimums.
100 above.
Visual, autopilot off. I think the cat's about to jump on me at exactly the moment to make me jump. That's my excuse. It's too late.
100. 50. 40. 30.
Into the flare.
20. Retard. 5.
Yeah, okay. Bit of a float. Interesting. Right, spoilers, reverse green, and we are decelerating. The cat did jump on my lap at exactly the right moment in the flare there, and now her claws are digging into my legs. But thank you. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Right, we'll take this left here. Oh, don't go left that much. Thank you. Right, taxi speed, forward idle. Well, that was a nice expeditious vacating. How did that go? What did that the floating always helps with the, it's not what you, oh, sorry, brake should be released. I was all proud of my quick expeditious vacating the runway there, and that's not much good. Because the traffic behind certainly won't know if we've vacated. They will be waiting for us to say. Yeah. Bit of a float. That flare felt different to when I made the last video in the Phoenix, so I'm going to have to do some more investigating on that. It certainly was a long landing indeed. Yeah, I've seen that they've changed. There's a pitch change difference. Delhi traffic, India 320, runway vacated, runway 28 vacated. Yeah, that didn't feel quite the same as last time I did it, but I don't want to comment because I haven't done enough with it. Yes, it wasn't a long landing. It was the end of the touchdown zone, I suppose, but it was definitely a floaty landing, no doubt about that. Right, so we're going to carry on up Kilo and then go over to the main apron. Good. Right, let's go. Long old taxi in here. Thanks, Jack, for the follow. Yeah, that felt, yeah, felt different. It's a shame. Phoenix has sort of had a really good landing.
I have no idea where the runway is.
Our colleague's struggling. There you go, someone's made it down there. I'm going to get rid of the ground spoilers. I'm going to leave everything else as it is for the replay, of course. Yeah. That was a late visual.
Delhi traffic, Air India 542 vacated runway 28.
There we go. Okay, so let's call it a hair landing. Yeah, it just it felt floaty. The airplane, that I felt like I did what I would normally have done, and it sort of floated a little bit. Maybe. Don't know. Like I say, more experimentation required. Could have just been me. Haven't done the sim for a while, you know.
Hey, but it's the 87 right back in. Somehow.
I still think this seat position is a little bit high. I would prefer it to be a little bit lower. Thanks, Jonathan, for the subscription. Mark says, cats know when the most inconvenient time is. Exactly. That was brilliant timing. About 100 feet above minima, she stood at the bottom of my chair howling. And then in the middle of the flare, she lands. I went, didn't you? What are you looking at? Staring at me. She's still upset about the lounge. She can't get to her spot or the tree to eat it. Long old taxi this. Yeah, a bit fast for that turn. I believe there's a setting where you can adjust seat height somewhere. Yes, no, indeed. I need to adjust my settings. Creates a sort of a camera profile. Andrea says, with my landings, I feel I need to pitch down when I float. If I don't, then I might as well call it a go-around. Yeah, okay, interesting. You shouldn't ever need to pitch down in the Airbus. You just sort of release the back pressure. Mark, see you later. Thanks for coming along. Mariner says, will you stream before Christmas? I certainly hope so. I intend to. I do intend to. This has been an extra quiet period, but I intend to get some more done. E-Boss, glad you enjoyed the stream. Thanks for coming along. Yeah, we shouldn't have to force down. Unless you've significantly overflared. But that was strange, because I felt like I flared like normal, and then it sort of picked up on the energy. Oh, goodbye. First officer's leaving. That's perfectly timed. This is a long old taxi. I feel like I didn't take the easiest route here. Right. Take this stand here. Just going to get the airplane set up for the replay. Yeah, I don't know where we are. That's where I ended up. Seth, long old taxi round here. Need to use even less brakes. I think we came off at kilo 1, kilo 2 would have been better. Yeah, I did squeeze on the brakes. I didn't need to do that. There we go. Right, welcome. Oh, sorry about the noise. Let me just turn that down. Welcome to Delhi. I hope you all enjoyed the flight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to those of you who've watched along and joined us today. There's the speedbed. Really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had great fun. And now we're going to have a quick look at the replay. Thank you to our colleagues here who've flown along with us as well. Always great fun to have people fly along. So there's our colleague in Microsoft Flight Simulator Land, and then our VATSIM colleagues as well. So the Speedbird made it. There's Indigo. So that's correct. That's a good livery to see. Did the other Air India join us? Not sure. Not sure. You're welcome, Sandboss. See you next time. Yeah, right. Let's leave the drone. Let's go back. Let's disconnect from VATSIM. And we go stop recording, put it on to final replay. There you go. Unfortunately, we will see our, actually not unfortunately, but yeah, we will see our friend. Oh, parking brake off. Don't know what that clicking sound is, but anyway, let's go outside, enjoy the view. Yeah, great livery. Thanks, Dougal. Glad you enjoyed it. See you, Tiglufu. You're very welcome. Jeff as well. Good night. Sorry, my chat's a bit delayed. So here we go. Into the flare. Wasn't much of a flare. Nose is barely raised. Yeah. To be determined. Perhaps an early flare, perhaps a bit of an overflare. It's very possible. It's totally fine, you know, within the touchdown zone without too much effort, but just definitely getting towards the end of it. So, let us... what I have to do now, let's see if I can get this right. It's the whole process here to get the replay to show up as we want. Let's put it somewhere like that. On the ground spoilers. A bit more. Right. So, I'm going to put a nice wing view. Should have an aft. Let's have an aft view today. Look at that. Just great. And I'm going to say thank you all so much for coming along to the stream. Thank you to those of you who've watched along, who've chatted along. Thanks so much to the moderators for looking after us. Thank you to those of you who so kindly donated. And thank you to those of you who just sat at home and watched along. It all means the world. Thank you for the kind words. Please do leave a like if you've enjoyed the stream on YouTube. It makes a big difference to the channel. Thank you for... I'm seeing all the messages and then thanks at the end there. So sorry, I won't answer them all. But yeah, really, really appreciate the kind words. And I'm so glad you've enjoyed the stream. We will be streaming soon. Again, I'm sorry for the big gap. Sometimes things are unpredictable. But yeah, it's great to be back today. And I do intend to stream again before Christmas. Hopefully we'll get a group flight done. So yeah. Do keep safe and well. We'll see you again in another video live stream soon. Thank you all again. Good night.